Welcome to this episode of the Stories to Tell podcast. In this edition, our special guest is Ken Ball. I talked to Ken about his absolute passion for travel and how his goal is to visit all of the countries in the world. He shares how he hopes his dream can inspire others to follow their passions in life as well. And we talk about some very practical travel tips, some favorite experiences he has had while traveling, and his thoughts on the human spirit, having experienced so many cultures around the world. And we start things off with how this dream of seeing the world got started.
Recently, I bumped into a YouTube of a woman named Lexi Limitless, who was a very young woman who would just travel to every country in the world. And she was the youngest person to do it. And I was watching her and watching her travels and things. And I said, well, gee, I think I can do that, which may have sounded a little silly. But the more I looked into it, the more people were doing this. There's some debate about how many actual countries they are. It depends on how you define it. But what I came out with was there are 197 countries, which she visited before the age of 22, believe it or not. And I thought, well, I guess I could do that. So that became my passion. I have always been interested in traveling. I've always wanted to be on the road and going someplace and seeing new things. And that's just excites me. Everybody has a passion, whether it's art or whatever it is, or sports. And this has always been mine. And so now that I'm retired and have the time and hopefully enough finances to do this, I said, well, this sounds like a really good idea. So that was how I started on it. And I think a few months after that, I did 8 countries over in the Balkans. And that got me started. So
Hearing you say 8 countries in the Balkans, I'll admit I'd have trouble finding 8 countries in the Balkans on the map. That just shows my own lack of knowledge of some of these things.
I have learned a lot. I have learned a lot. That's true.
How many countries have you been to date?
I've only done 29. And I say only 29 because Zach, who is doing this with me, I'll tell you a little bit more, is up to 59 now.
And so the ultimate goal, you're reaching for 197.
We are. We're both reaching for 197. We know that right now there are certain countries that Americans are not allowed into for various reasons, but obviously we're not going to go to Yemen or Afghanistan. But things change.
Right.
And the goal is what's important, and the journey is what's important. If we don't get to North Korea in our lifetime, that's not for lack of trying. But most countries you can get to right now, there are about 10 that do not allow Americans in, but times will change.
Now, there are a couple other things that we'll get into today that even make your passion and your journey and your quest, I'll call it a quest for 197,
Sure.
is a couple of things that you have shared with me so tell all the listeners, what is your age?
Actually, Zach and I, Zach is my grand nephew. That's how. So we have a relationship. I will turn 71 in July.
Awesome.
And he will turn 23, all of 23 in July. So very different perspectives on world travel, but very much the same passion. He kind of clicked on his while he was away at King's College in London. And when he was in England, he got to travel around a lot. Of course, the European countries, it's very cheap to bop around England while you're in London. So he kind of got onto it, and then he followed someone else. The person he followed was named Drew Binsky, who did the same thing as Lexi Limitless. So we've shared stories as to how he's come along. The perspective is totally different, as you might imagine. I'm a baby boomer. He's a Generation Z person.
Yeah.
We've traveled together a little bit before while he was going to school, but mostly he's been going to school, hanging out with his friends, going to different countries, and I've been going to the Balkans and Asia and places like that. So our journeys sometimes get together and sometimes apart. But I think the perspective that he brings and the gifts that he brings is the technology and the willingness to try something new. And at age 71, I'm not as good as technology, but I am willing to try something new. I'm always looking for the new place to go, the new experience.
And I bet in the same way, he's probably having new experiences with having you there, your perspective on things too, right?
We've been fortunate that I've gone to a lot of countries that he had not been to that I was able to help him out with. Next week, I'm going to Asia. He is currently in Singapore, where he's doing his graduate work, and he is just finishing up. So we said, when he finishes up, we'll do Asia. And so he's already done quite a bit of it. But part of that is I was able to help him out a little bit in the Balkans. He's now helping me out as we travel through Asia. Plus, he is also half Asian, half American, and speaks fluent Chinese.
Oh, there you go.
So that will help.
I was going to get into that a little bit, how you navigate those types of things. But when you say you're going through Asia,
yes.
What does that mean? How many countries are you going to see? And
10 is the goal.
Wow.
It's probably going to take about 6 weeks. My current itinerary is I'm going to start in Japan. He just finished Japan, actually, and is heading back. But then he and I are going to meet in the Philippines in a little place called Cebu, which is an island in the Philippines that he discovered. So we're going to go there, and then we're going to go up to Korea. He's going to go off to China. I'm going to go down to what we call the quadrangle, which is Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand.
Do you actually have a return ticket booked from some?
No, I do not.
You're just going.
Yeah.
It could be 8 weeks.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's good because what I've learned is that becomes just too restrictive.
Yeah.
And things do not go according to plan. I have 2 rules of international travel. One being things will never go according to plan. That's number 1. And number 2 is it will cost more than you think. So, yeah. So those are
2 good rules.
And I have never traveled without those 2 rules going into effect immediately. So that's the starting point. So some of the countries I've gone to, I never expected to go to, and there are other countries that I did not get to that I thought I would, and that's just the nature of the business. And Zach has had that along the way too.
I kind of find that freeing. You're on this journey in a way, as opposed to going a long weekend in Orlando Disneyland and you're going to go so many rides and see so many restaurants, and you have to be back at work on Monday.
Right.
You're like, I'm going on a real journey. I'm landing somewhere and almost letting life and opportunity take me.
And that's a good point. When I travel and Zach travels, we don't tend to stay at the Holiday Inn and next to the Eiffel
I was going to ask,
and get on a tour. Tours aren't our thing.
Yeah.
But people who go as tourists and, like you say, go with the tour guide and get on the bus and see that.
Right.
That's great. But there is a distinction between tourists and travelers. And travelers are the people that just put their stuff in the backpack and go. And that is one of the T-shirts. One of the T-shirts that Zach has says "Just go."
Oh,
just
okay.
Go, just go, and that's your answer to you don't have a return plan.
I'm sensing when you're just going, you don't have that return, you don't have that tour guide. You're meeting at 10 a.m. Is you're just allowing yourself to wake up, hit the street, go to a cafe, go to a restaurant, go to an open market, and you just let the experience just take you somewhere.
And that's where the experiences come from. I mean, really, sure. I've been, to see David in Florence and see the big attractions, the Taj Mahal, and those things. Sure, you see those, but where you learn, where you grow, where you experience travel is along the way. One quick story: he and I were in Venice with his parents, and I had gotten there first, so I was bopping around, finding places and stuff like that. So I'd say, well, let's go here, let's go there. And his parents are very good people. They're more structured than Zach and I. So anyway, once we were walking around, I said, oh, there's a big cathedral over there, which of course, if you've been to Europe, there's a big cathedral everywhere. So I said, oh, let's walk around. Well, along the way, we bumped into the Venice fire station. Now, I don't know if you've been to Venice, but it's all water. There are no cars. There are no,
That'd be amazing to see.
It's not like here.
Yeah.
So my nephew, Zach's dad, is a firefighter. So we walked by this fire station and we went, oh, a fire station. So he knocked on the door and the guy said, yeah, he showed his like fire badge or whatever. He says, oh, come in. And so we got a whole tour of the Venice fire station, and they'd have boats. When they go out to a fire, they go out to a boat to rescue someone, and everything is done on the water.
I love that.
Right along,
Seriously, I love that.
And those are the things along the way you bump into the parades, the odd things that you never would do in a tour. Now, some are maybe a little more questionable than others, but for the most part, everything goes really well. Yeah. So I think it is the along the way roadside things, if you've ever been on road trips, that you kind of remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than the destination.
Susan and I, one time, we needed to go back to northeastern Iowa from here in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, we decided not to take any freeways. So we just drove little north on 25 and turned right. So this is how little I even know, like these roads that we took. We kind of turned right at Santa Fe somewhere. And then we just took single lane roads, one lane roads either way, all the way back to Iowa. Wow. And so the things, and it was just slow pace. You just pull over to the side of the road and look at that view. We saw one farm that was nothing but those metal sculpture whirligig things that they had hundreds of them. And to your point, when I talk about driving back there, that's what we remember. Yeah. We don't remember stopping at the Cracker Barrel off Road I-40, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, the one. Talking to that fireboat or the fire station captain, you're learning culture. They probably learned some more about you and just, right? Yeah. It's amazing. I really think that is the essence of travel. As they say, sure, you're going to see the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, but the people that you meet and the places. Zach is more of a hostel person. I'm a little more of an Airbnb person. Okay. But either experience, you're meeting the people that live there that want to tell you their favorite restaurant. They want to tell you what the city was like 20 years ago, and how they grew up there, and things that you just don't get on a regular commercial tour. How long have you been planning your Asia trip? How long has that been in your mind and you've been working on it? Probably a couple months. Okay. But there's always some journey that's on my mind. And this came about because he was graduating and we wanted to do that. The planning phase, if you're going to go to a country that needs a visa, that's usually not that difficult. It's usually get it within 1 to 3 days of applying for it. No kidding. It's all done online now. I thought that would have taken months. It used to. Used to. So now you get something called an e-visa for most countries. For most countries that people are going to travel to, it's that. About 2/3 of countries don't require a visa. Now a third do, and unfortunately it's increasing. That number is increasing. But yeah. So the planning, I would say, if you're looking to explore the world, pick a part that you're interested in. If you're interested in Asia or India, see how you do that. Or if you just want to get your feet wet and you just want to travel to a couple countries in Europe, most all of those are non-visa countries. You just need a passport. You travel pretty easily between those countries. There are a few general preparation things that we do. One is currency. It's kind of a good idea to know what the currency is and to maybe have some of those. If not, you can always get it there. Make sure your credit card, if you're using a credit card or your debit card, that your bank knows that you're going to Botswana. Excellent. So that doesn't, so because they'll freeze your card. I've heard a lot of stories about that. So that's a part of preparation, the currency. There are a couple apps that we have that most travelers have. I'm not going to make any advertisements for anybody, but you can get on your phone something called an eSIMs card. I know if people haven't traveled, they're not familiar with SIMs cards, but
let's say you go to England, you would have to get a special connection to use your phone in England. Otherwise, you're going to get charged that $200 or whatever it is for using international
Right. I was going to
calls.
ask you about calling. Right.
So calling is a big issue, but it can be handled easily. You get an app if your phone has a SIMS card. Also, if you've been through airports, you'll see these SIMS card kiosks there. What they do is they take the card, put it in your phone. It costs $10 or whatever it costs, and then your phone is good to go in that country for whatever that fee was. With the app on the phone, like when I'm going to go to start in Japan.
Yeah.
So the day before I go, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to Japan for 4 days. And they say, okay, it's $10 or whatever. And then I'm good for Japan. Then I go to the next country and I put in Malaysia. So I don't have to go through finding the SIMS card thing. I don't have to go through putting it in, taking it out. So that's a really good recommendation to make your phone is SIMS compatible and get an app. There are multitude apps, Nomad, all things. That
That's
I
a
would
good tip.
definitely do. So now that you don't have the phone problems where you come back, and I've heard people saying, I had a $150 bill on my on my phone because I was doing international. So that's how you do international without major charges. I don't know the exact charges. It's like, if it's $10 a week, I'd say that's a lot. It's not much at all.
So currency and getting your phone all set.
Currency, a lot of people, if you're going to one place, if you're going to France, and that's the only place you're going to, I would say go to your AAA office and get French lira or euros or whatever. Otherwise, you can get cash out of cash machines at the airport or whatever, or do the exchange at the airport. It's a little more expensive, but it's not so much of an issue.
Do you have to be concerned while we're kind of going down the checklist? Anything like with insurance, medical insurance, or if you want to rent a car?
Yeah, good question. Because in some cases, they want to make sure that you have medical insurance if you get hurt, so you just have your medical card with you. There's so many different insurances out there. I don't want to speak to any, but they just generally, if you break your ankle in England, they fix your ankle, and then when you go back, you get reimbursed by your country. So always good to have your medical insurance card with you, and just might want to check to make sure that, hey, if I break my ankle in England, am I covered? And the other thing on travel insurance, it's kind of split feelings among travelers as to whether to use it or not. I don't. A lot of people do. So it depends on your level of comfort, I guess.
Risk tolerance.
Your risk tolerance, yeah. So I'm sure if I, really mess up, I will say, oh, I better get travel insurance. But personally, I haven't. I don't think Zach has either.
Okay.
But it's 50-50 on that.
And it sounds like with the way you do your journeys, I'm imagining, are you just loading up like an REI backpack or something? Are you taking 2-3 pieces of luggage? I can't imagine having to tote those around the way you're doing it. But
good question. Yes, I always just use a backpack. Zach always just uses a backpack.
You're mobile.
The simplicity of that is incredible because you are not checking bags, which now costs a bunch of money, and also your bags can't get lost. You don't have to go through various places. The trick is fitting everything into a backpack that you can fit under the seat. So there are a lot of packing tips that I see online that help people with.
Do you have a system? You're like, so you're 6 weeks out and you're like, okay, 3 pairs of socks and 2 pairs of shoes, and you got it down probably.
I do have a system.
Yeah.
I didn't start with a system, but I did learn a system rather well. And learning how to find laundries is quite an interesting experience also. I pack about 4 days worth of clothes. So every 4 days I have to find a laundry, someone who might speak English, might not. And
What do you mean you've had, sometimes you just can't find one and you're
sometimes
like,
you can't find one. The machines, you can't read the instructions for the laundromat. So somebody will come by and help you. And so it's always It's different in every place we go. We were in Ireland, I think, and found interesting a Chinese woman who had a Chinese laundry but didn't speak much English.
A Chinese laundromat in Ireland.
Right. And it was actually in Galway in Ireland. Yeah. So that was very interesting. So somehow we communicated. And
there you go. Where there will, there's a way.
We got it done. So that's, yeah, definitely, I know most people would carry a couple bags of luggage, but it is for simplicity, especially going through customs, and maybe chat about that a little bit, because they're going to search stuff or not. It's very different. There is no universal rule for going through customs, going through security.
Because every country you're crossing the border,
different rules.
And rules. Yeah, some are strict, some are.
I've stood in India and they said, "Oh, just go out that door." And I've had other countries that I was stopped, I think, 5 or 6 times on the way through. And sometimes problems can be solved with money. I found out, you'll find out in travel, a lot of countries deal on the black market is the major enterprise in a lot of third world countries.
Oh, wow.
So there are problems that can be solved with $10.
And you've experienced something like that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, all the time.
And it's almost just, this isn't even almost unusual. It's just the way the process works.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not in the London, Paris, but when I'm in places, Montenegro, Albania. Yeah.
You just get the sense.
Third world is different. The third world is a different place to be. So border crossings are kind of the one thing that travelers talk about when they're out there is obviously the places I go to, Zach goes, are more off the beaten path.
It sounds like it, right.
So we bump into other people like ourselves, and the number one conversation we always have is, how did you get through Albania? How did you get through Nicaragua?
Oh.
That is the big thing. So, and most are just fine. Everything is, I've never been stopped. I've never, I've had questions. Zach's had his bag emptied, things like that, but nothing where we were ever stopped.
So, that's interesting. That's the big topic. Everyone's looking for tips. Kind of this network of people like yourself that just have this unbelievable passion to experience all these cultures and lands. That's like, let's help each other out.
It is, and I wish there was a website. I'm sure there would be, but I think by the nature of our personalities, we don't tend to join things. we don't tend to be group meetup people. We're not going to sit in a room and talk about stuff. It's just by
you got things to see,
right?
You got people to meet.
But we went to a lava field in the middle of Nicaragua. Like, we took an hour, and it was one of the things you had to take a tour. You just can't wander out to the lava field. So there were about a dozen of us crammed into a little van, and all of them are travelers. Of course, Nicaragua, going to a lava field is not on Rick Steves' list. So the conversation was just like nonstop of, how's this country? Well, how did you get, what happened there? Oh, they stopped at the border because they were having a revolution or something like that. So this one was easy. And so just enjoying their company and places they've been to, and advice on where to go, and how to get to places, what the best places to stay are.
Is there an underlying, what fuels that passion for you to want to pursue this as opposed to golfing or pottery or rock band?
Yeah, that's just such a great point, because I would like to inspire everyone to travel, but of course everybody doesn't have the same fanaticism that I do about travel. But they have a fanaticism about something. They're excited about something, whether it's a guitar, whether it's art. My wife is an artist, and those types of things. And I guess my message, and I had mentioned to you this before, is one of my goals, and probably both of our goals, is to make a presentation. Whether it's YouTube, whether it's a PowerPoint presentation, is to go out. And I've gone to a couple of retirement homes and started talking about traveling to people, and they're just fascinated.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't get to go out there, but maybe I can bring the world to them, and maybe we can give them different sections. So I'm hoping that this is a genesis, and I really appreciate this, Mark, to start out and start talking about, hey, how do we get this message out to the world? Not just to travel, but to do what makes you excited. Follow your passion, I know has been said over and over again, but it couldn't be more true.
Yeah.
And right now, maybe it took me 71 years, but I'm there.
Yeah.
And Zach is dedicated to doing this. And I always tell him, he's been going to school for 5 or 6 years now. He's got great degrees, bilingual, but I always tell him, I said, don't let your education get in the way of your traveling. Okay?
Oh.
I don't let his parents hear that.
Right.
Hopefully they're not listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ken.
Yeah. But I think that's good advice. And I think I don't have any worries about him not following that passion. So I think we are looking, probably when we get together these next couple months, is to talk about this and where we want to take this from here. Because I think, as you said, it is a great story of people from very distant generations traveling the world together. Yes, as you mentioned, I have a eye disease, so I'm not able to drive. I'm not able to read a lot of stuff. So I have that limitation on me. And I know a lot of people that are aging are having some vision problems too. And my contribution, part of this, is not just to travel and see nice things, although that's good, but I hope that we can take this and inspire others to do, maybe not travel, but maybe you follow your passion of art, or maybe you follow your passion of real estate,
there you go.
Whatever that is. And we hope to, when I get back, kind of solidify the presentation. I've got it started already. But to bring it out to people, maybe in retirement homes, maybe awesome. The Kiwanis Club. I don't know where you bring it.
Because I want to go down a couple other paths, but before we forget, I think it would be easier for you with your vision impairment and with your age to say, nah, I'm good. I'm good here in Rio Rancho, right? What allows you to kind of overcome what other people might think of as challenges to say, well, I'm just going to Asia. I don't have a return ticket. I'll be back.
Well, you need to have a reason to get up in the morning. You absolutely need to have a reason. It doesn't matter if you're 22 years old or 71 or 91. And my reason not only is traveling, Zach's not only traveling, but to bring this to other people, to actually show. I've done presentations for people with the same disability as I have. I've worked with nonprofits of people with low vision and worked in those communities. And there is a sentiment that, this is not good. This is a little depressing. I might just stay here. And my message is, don't do that. Don't do that.
I think it's remarkable, Ken.
Yeah,
I really do.
Just get out and go. And maybe you can't travel all 197 countries of the world, but maybe you can go see the Grand Canyon while you still have vision.
Go to Santa Fe for a day.
Go to Santa Fe.
Start small.
Yeah. Go somewhere. Do something that excites you. Go to the Isotopes ball game or something.
Up on my arms. So, I love it. Very passionate about it.
Yeah. So I think those presentations and the work I have done in the blind, can't call it blind community, whatever we call ourselves now, visually impaired community now, has helped people to show that I've had this all my life. So I've adapted and made it through school, had a career, did all other stuff. And
it's amazing, Ken. I think it's amazing.
If we can get that message out to people. And in addition, even if they don't, they get to see this really cool pictures.
Yeah, you bring them the world to them.
And here's some kind of cool stories, and also share their stories.
Yeah.
People our age have a lot of stories to tell, and that's the whole idea of your podcast.
Exactly. Just to get conversations going and letting people know that what they're going through in their life is interesting. Their past is interesting. Their current day is interesting. I think everybody's got a story.
What you're doing is great. I think everybody's story is interesting. And I think I'm not saying one person's is more interesting than the other, but it is pretty darn interesting to travel the world. It really
Do you
is.
find, I know this might be kind of an odd question, but with your visual impairment, do you find you're experiencing your travels in a different way? Let's say you're in Singapore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do have challenges in terms of course, reading signs, reading my phone, things like that. I have a wonderful doctor who also has the same visual impairment as I do. His name is Dr. Pusateri. He's very Italian and great guy, has given me a lot of tips on how he travels with vision impairment. He's helped me with some, as you know, I have some aids to help me see, whether they be monoculars, all kinds of vision type enhancements. My phone is designed to talk to me. My iPad can talk to me, things like that. So I have been able to adapt. It is more difficult, I'm sure, traveling with a vision impairment, but that's not going to stop me for 1 minute. I mean, the benefits far outweigh any discomfort I may have along the way. I think a frustrating part, actually just this morning, a silly little story, I had getting my last visa in Southeast Asia to Laos, and I got a note back from the Laotian government saying, hey, you messed up here.
Oh, really?
And I had to go back.
That's not something everybody gets every day.
Yeah, well, actually, I get those quite a bit. Oh. Yeah, I do get those quite a bit. But I had to go in and figure it out, and it takes me longer to read, of course, than other people. But I did figure out that I had a digit on the passport number wrong. I changed the number and sent it back in, and I'm sure I'll be fine. So those little things are frustrating at times. I cannot change my eyesight because of the disease that I have, but my health I can always adjust. Because I'm 71, I plan on getting this done by the time I'm 80. And I figure that's a pretty good goal.
You're going to be moving.
Pretty good goal to keep moving and to stay healthy. So this motivates me to stay in good health. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, well, I passed the age of 70.
Right, right.
And 70 isn't what it used to be anyway. So
very good.
Yeah, so that doesn't, the quest helps to help me stay healthy, eat the right foods, exercise, and those kind of things, rather than not doing those things.
Love it. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Do you have with 29 countries so far, do you have a story that just stands out? Like, oh my gosh, I got to experience this.
Wow.
Or maybe it's a couple, or...
I think when I was in India, if anyone has traveled to a city called Varanasi in India, Varanasi is the sacred place for Hindus. Gandhi's remains were spread in ashes in Varanasi in India. In Varanasi is probably the most unusual city I've ever been to. India is, how did Churchill describe it, as a riddle wrapped in an enigma? It's a very confusing country, but a very warm, friendly, unique country. Varanasi is the place where there's the sacred place along the Ganges where people come to bring their dead relatives and friends to have them cremated along the river, and the ashes spread into the Ganges.
Oh, wow.
So one of our most interesting stories was, Liz was with me, my wife, at the time, and they dropped us off, and all the streets are like 3 feet wide. and those are for cows, tuk-tuks, taxis, and people.
Wow.
I may be exaggerating a little, but they're not very wide. So these two Indian men grabbed our bags, put them on their head, and said, "Follow me." And we're running down the alley. And they knew where they were going, so they weren't going to stop. So I'm trying to keep Liz keeping up with us, and we're just running down, trying to not touch the cows because you can't touch a cow in India.
You can't touch the cows?
No. Bad idea. Cows have the right of way in India. Chickens, whatever is going. So we're like running down this. It seemed like we went for 10 minutes. It was probably only like a couple minutes.
Right.
To get to there. And then we get to the river, the Ganges River, and just such a phenomenal spiritual experience, whether you're Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, whatever. And they have all these fires burning along the river, and people are bringing in bodies of their deceased.
Kind of out in the open there in the public.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. Right around the river. And it is a constant assembly line of.
Whoa.
And it's such a. There were no mourners or crying or anything. No. This is the transition of life that they believe in India. And this is the sacred place that if you are ashes go into the Ganges, they believe you move on to the higher plane of life. So that was that's kind of a hard one to beat.
I would say. I've never heard of such a thing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now that's off the path.
It is off the path. Yeah.
That's probably not on the ABC cruise destinations.
It is quite the place, and they have ceremonies at night that celebrate the passing of life. Just the things you learn on.
Thank you for sharing that.
That was quite an interesting.
I could watch it in your face when you were talking about what kind of impact that had on you.
Yeah. It travel impacts you. It does. It changes you.
We could go on for days.
Yeah, we could.
But just as a couple kind of closing things, is there? What have you noticed about the human spirit, or just an override? You've been to 29 different countries, 29 different cultures. You're going to see 10 or more in the next.
I'm going to get to 50 by the end of the year.
Oh my gosh! There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Is there like an overriding message or something you felt about the human spirit?
Yes. Okay. Yes, absolutely. The overriding message is that people are really good, fine people. There are exceptions. There are obviously exceptions. There are bad people out there, but by and large, 95 to 99% of the people are there to help you. I can't tell you how many times, not just because of my eyesight, because I look confused in the middle of Old Delhi. I'm kind of confused, and people come by. Can I help you? Do you need to know where to go? Where can I give you a ride? I had a police officer I forget, someplace in Central America that I looked like I was lost. And I said, I can't find my hotel. He says, get in the car and we'll bring you right over there. And they just drove me to the hotel. And people that offer you all kinds of things, flowers, whatever. They are, the majority of people are so kind, so honest. We talk about Islamic countries, and I've been to a lot of those. Those are the most trusting, honest people that you would ever meet. I know we have a bad opinion of Muslims in this country right now, but being in their country, they're extremely poor. But as far as helping you out, you can set your wallet down on the sidewalk and no one would do anything but pick it up and bring it back to you.
Wow.
So the essence of the human spirit, I know a lot of people are scared of traveling to other countries because it can be a scary event, and bad things do happen along the way. But to meet the people that I meet and have the experiences that I've had has helped me become a better person myself, because I learn that at our core, we are good people. At our core, we are wanting to help others. We are wanting to assist our neighbor, and that crosses all borders. Unfortunately, people watch a lot of the news, and we find out, those people in XYZ country, they're bad, or they're bad. No, they're not.
I love that you can say that. I really do.
They're not. And I'm supposed I could have an experience in this trip that finds out not, but I haven't met any other traveler that wouldn't tell you the exact same thing.
Awesome. Is there, just in closing, is there like a thought or like a philosophy or that?
I want to read, if I may, this one thing. Anthony Bourdain was a great traveler, inspired me, inspired Zach. Unfortunately, his life did not end well, but he was the ultimate, to me, traveler. He just put his stuff in the bag and went.
Yeah, sounds like what you do. Yeah.
All of his shows were just so inspiring. So, if I may read this quote from you, which from Anthony Bourdain, he says, "Travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart, but that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. It leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, and on your heart, and on your body. You take something with you. Hopefully, you leave something good behind." I can never read that without crying.
Yeah.
It's just so, and I've read a lot of quotes to that effect, and how it does change you. I think I'd like to, close and by saying that a lot of people that I tell this to, or Zach tells to his friends, will say, "Well, that's crazy." Well, maybe it is. Einstein was crazy. Edison was crazy. But I think the people that have done this would share in the philosophy that that's really a good thing. It really is. It changes you in a way that you don't understand, even when you're going through it. When I come back, they'll ask me how it was, because along the journey, and I know this is going to happen in the next 6 weeks that I'm out there, is I'm going to have moments where I'm going, "This is the dumbest thing you've ever done in your life." I'm sitting in an airport and the plane's taking off without me, or whatever, or I lose my pass, whatever happens.
Yeah.
I'm going, "This is crazy. You got to be out of your mind to try to do this." I said, "Go home. Watch some TV. Just relax."
Right.
And then the next day, I'll be out on top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere, and I'm going, "Oh my God,
right.
This is all worth it."
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Stories to Tell podcast. We really appreciate your support. We appreciate it if you could like and share, and we wish you all the best.